1, as we talked about earlier, VLAN 1 is by default tagged. Consequently, the trunk native VLAN is also VLAN 1 by default. So that previous slide we just talked about not wanting to have your native VLAN the same as any access ports. We most commonly see this when the trunk native VLAN hasn't been changed and access ports have not been changed, or you're still using the default VLAN of 1. This is a lot more common in environments where you don't have traditional network engineers managing your environment, or it initially had been built by, say, some automation engineers early on that knew enough to be dangerous, knew enough to stand up an environment, to get things talking and working. Maybe you had some network engineers come in later, start building out more segmentation, more networks, but it was too costly to go and change your default VLANs to 1, or default VLANs for your trunk native and for these existing subnets that you may have in place. So all three of these kind of culminating together leads to what VLAN hopping, or a VLAN hopping double tagging potential event. Anything we talk about today really has a larger availability issues that can arise, which Steve will get to as we step into more of the misconfigurations that we look into. But to understand what the VLAN hopping or double tagging style attack of this is, it is a unidirectional attack that allows traffic to transmit from one VLAN to a different VLAN. And this really can be present when you have the trunk native VLAN assigned to an access port and you have assets on a different subnet. So we'll look at the image on the right just to talk through the mechanics of how this works. But you have, in this image, you've got a PC on the left side that is assigned to an access port VLAN X, and a PLC on the right side that is plugged into an access port for VLAN 200. So what you can do on the PC itself is you can actually configure your NIC to tag a VLAN before it is sent out of your PC. So if we follow the packet from left to right, when the packet leaves the PC on the left, it'll be initially tagged with VLAN 200. When it comes into the access port, that will then get double encapsulated or nested with a VLAN X, which is the access port VLAN. When that packet traverses between switch 1 and switch 2, the native VLAN is pulled off because the native VLAN is sending over untagged packets. It doesn't recognize VLAN 200. It sees that as part of the Ethernet frame. When it enters into switch 2, it will be then on VLAN 200 because it will see that VLAN, not knowing it came from the native VLAN itself, thus allowing you to talk to the PLC on the right side. So the type of attacks that are possible with this is you could send, say, Modbus UDP commands to modify values in a PLC. You could send SIP IO messaging and change like remote IO or point IO values that could result in a shutdown of the process environment or be part of a larger, more complex attack. So we have never seen this in the wild. It's something you see more from researchers, but it's still I would
just add that it feels like it's often used as a scare tactic. You'll hear people say, "Oh, I could just do VLAN hopping and cross over," and this is to show you that it is possible. You can see many YouTube videos of people doing this, but it is a unidirectional. So you'd be sending UDP messages. And as Josh was saying, I feel like the concern of this is a little overblown. It is a possibility, but this, of the two variants of VLAN hopping, I'm less worried about this one and more about the other one that's coming up next.